Hi there guys, my name is Ryan. I play chess, put my videos on YouTube, and today I wanted to expand my series on beginning to chess master and talk a little bit about castling and how to do it and some restrictions and why it's so important. Castling is one of the two special moves you get to do in chess, the other one being en passant, which I'll talk about in one of my later videos. But basically, castling is where you simultaneously move your king and your rook. The king moves 2 squares and the rook moves 1 square on the other side of the king. For example, 2 squares here, one side square here. Castling may only be done if the king has never moved, the rook involved has never moved, the squares between the king and the rook are unoccupied, the king is not in check, and the king does not cross over or end on a square in which it would be in check. So we're going to run through all of these and give you guys a visual example of what each of those rules mean. But before we do that, I think that it's important to talk about why you should castle in chess, because I played against some of my friends, and they seem to not think that it's as important as some other objectives in chess, and I disagree wholeheartedly. I think it's one of the most important things you can do in any opening. Castling is basically an important goal in the opening in the first 10 moves because it serves 2 valuable purposes. It moves the king into a safer position, and it activates one of your rooks towards the center of the board. A rook over here is a lot more valuable than on the H file, especially in the opening. To kind of visualize it in another game, I like to kind of equate castling as into some objectives if the board was a checkers board. So here we've got the basic strategy in checkers, which is to make a pyramid shape with your checkers and then push through the board. And eventually you're going to try to gain central control by pushing up the center. Same strategy kind of applies in chess in that you want to control the center and eventually push into your opponent's territory, which will usually involve attacking the center of your opponent's territory. If your king is in the center, it's a lot more prone to checks and just being checkmated faster in the opening, other than if it was over here. Realize that a checker is not going to go over here quite as fast as it's going to go right here. So castling is so important in that it really gets your king to safety right out of the opening and activates a rook right away. Okay, so you can castle both queenside and kingside. So just to give you an example again, the king moves 2 spaces here and the rook moves 1 space here. Same would be involved over here. That's what castling kingside would look like. If you wanted to castle queenside, it would be the same principle. You move 2 squares to the left, and your rook ends up on the other side of your king. Queenside castling is a little bit more aggressive than kingside castling, simply because your rook is on a D file, a central file, but it also has drawbacks in that your king is more out in the open. But it's more of an active position for your rook instead of having your rook be on this F file, and you have to spend another move to get it on a central file. So that's what the basic, castling, the rule of castling looks like. So the certain rules about check that are involved in castling are as follows. So say that the queen comes down and gives check right here, and our king, moves up 1, and then he drops back, and we move back here. Are we allowed to castle anymore? No, because we have moved our king once. That's one of the rules of chess. Also, if the queen moves down here, and the king is, if the queen moves down here and the king is in check, castling is not an option to get out of check. Second rule about castling is you cannot castle through check. So, for example, this queen is blocking check because the king would have to move through check to castle. That's not, that's an illegal move as well. Then the third rule about castling is you cannot castle onto a square that you would be in check with. So this queen, is on the C file. We cannot castle into check. And last rule, I guess, is that if either of your rooks have moved, you cannot castle on that side anymore because the rook has moved, So let's take a look at what my second rule was in just a brief example to, really get through when you can and cannot castle. So in this example, I have two, these are 2 separate examples. The only difference is the side. Notice that the pawns and the pieces are in relatively the exact same position. Everything is just reflected. And this shows my second rule that you cannot castle through check. So in this beginning position, the rook right here is on this B file. Are you able to castle in this position? The answer is yes, because the king does not move through any checks, while the rook does. The rook is fine to move, as long as the king doesn't move into check. However, in this position here, the king cannot castle because it's in check. Anyways, that's the basic concepts of castling, why you should castle, and some basic rules involved in castling. Wish you the best of luck in your chess, and have a good day. What's up, guys? Thanks again for watching my video here today. I really appreciate it, and if you have any questions about any specific moves or anything about the game, please leave them below. I'd love to answer those. And last but not least, if you got anything out of this video at all, or you just simply enjoyed it, I would highly encourage you to subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and that way you can, get in touch with any future videos that I put out. Anyways, have a good rest of your day, and good luck in your chess.